We'll try and ignore the hotel bedroom behind you.
This week in e-commerce, episode 123. I am Mal Chia, back with you for another week with Alex Ross. Alex, how are you?
I'm well, Mel. Busy. It's been a hot start to the year, but going really well. How about yourself?
About the same. It is non-stop at the moment, which is very pleasing. That obviously being busy is good. I'd rather be busy than not. But also just like, man, there's a lot going on right now.
I think everyone's gotten out the gate super strong. So hopefully the momentum keeps up.
Yeah, look, and this is the first time in a while I've actually been recording on the road. I'm in Sydney at the moment, so hopefully the audio quality will be okay for this
Yep.
episode.
We'll try and ignore the hotel bedroom behind you.
Yeah, that's right. I should probably blur that out, but I won't bother because we don't do much editing on this show.
No.
All right, we're going to dive straight into it, and we've got some very interesting stories. And the first quickie we're going to dive into is a story which I found in the New York Times about a crying horse toy which is going viral in China right now. Now, it's really cute. I got to admit, I'm not sure if you had a chance to have a look at the picture of it, but it's super cute. And it turned out it was actually a mistake from the factory where they were making horse toys, these horse plush toys, because it is the year of the horse in the Lunar New Year calendar. And they made a mistake. And instead of a smiling horse, the horse actually had the smile upside down. And it's gone absolutely viral with this whole ugly, cute sort of thing. So it's been really cool. And a lot of people responding to the fact that that's how they feel. They're feeling really burnt out by the state of the world right now. And as a result, the horse has really resonated.
It's the year of the wooden horse, which I believe is all about stability. So hopefully we could turn that frown upside down,
It's
dare
like,
I say. But no, I think it still looks like a cute plush toy at the end of the day.
yeah, but I just goes to show that, so many things come about from happy accidents. Like we've got this horse, but even before that as well, Post-it notes were a happy accident. They weren't actually designed to be like that. It was just like leftover glue. I think, can't remember the story, but one of the engineers, applied this glue which they made onto a back of paper and just stuck it up. And it's like, oh, maybe we'll turn that into a product. So sometimes the best ideas just kind of happen by mistake.
Yeah, there you go. I think also just in the world of AI at the moment and just seeing like human error come out at its finest. And that's why there's that embracing of yeah, this mistake.
Yeah, the imperfection, I think, and you do see that a lot. AI just looks way too polished. And when you see some things which just are that little bit human, kind of makes you trust it more, I feel.
Exactly. 100%.
All right. And one story which you shared with me earlier today was that Facebook Marketplace have collaborated with Netflix for a Bridgerton curated shopping experience. Now, this is kind of cool. I haven't actually seen this yet. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's rolling out to Australia, but I'm sure if it's successful in the US, we'll start to see different takes of this. I think it's really cool. I think that they're obviously getting off the virality of the new Bridgerton series and making the most of that moment and also keeping Facebook Marketplace relevant. I think off the back of this collab, they're going to announce a few updates to Facebook Marketplace. There's going to be a glow up section, which will have makeup and those types of things. So I think it's a good iteration of that part of the platform.
Yeah, it's really cool. And again, more brands who are trying to tap into the culture, as well, and taking their IP and applying it to different places as well. Stranger Things obviously had their moment with their final season where they did a lot of activations all around the world. They had the Sphere in Las Vegas where they had the Mind Flayer, not the Mind Flayer, one of the Demogorgons breaking out of the Sphere. They had a few things over the Sydney Harbour as well, and a lot of different activations. It's about taking these properties and extending it into places where people are and really feeling embedded in it as well. And again, I think this whole licensing boom is going to continue this year, I expect. I know that the licensing companies are doing great business at the moment, and I think we'll probably see more of these as well.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think like for local brands, whether they've got that official collab or not, being able to piggyback off these moments in the social calendar, not even just the retail calendar at this point. We know that when Taylor Swift was touring, sequins and pink were top search terms for brands and their top selling products. So starting to think about what Bridgerton style products you've got and how you can start to make a moment out of that too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And about relevance, right? Like if you sell a product which is available all year round, how do you create urgency? Yeah, how do you create urgency so that people will want to buy it now? And part of that is tapping into these cultural moments, like you say, like Taylor Swift, like Stranger Things, and now with Bridgerton as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
All right, one story which I've been paying special attention to is the recent split of TikTok. So this has been a long time coming, but in the US now, TikTok has changed from being a Chinese-owned company to now being a majority US-owned, with China still owning the Chinese entity ByteDance still owning about 20%, 19%, I believe, of TikTok, but now majority owned by US. Now this happened last week, and immediately the response on social media was pretty immediate, where you saw people starting to accuse the new algorithm of censorship, and a lot of topics such as controversial topics like Gaza, Palestine, and even like all the shootings in Minneapolis and ICE were actually starting to be censored, and people weren't seeing that anymore. And I'm hearing a lot of noise about this potentially being the beginning of the end of TikTok. It's going to be the true socialification of TikTok. What do you think? Are you much of a TikTok user?
I'm a massive TikTok user. It's probably my number one social platform. I mean, I'm not a poster, so don't go looking for me. I take a, what do they say? On average, a TikTok user consumes over a movie's worth of content a day, and I can see why. It's very addictive. So I think that, look, a lot of the content I consume is from US creators. So if we're going to start to see those US creators pull back, then that's going to impact how everybody around the world uses the app.
Yeah, look, I fully agree with that. And but it's also how long that takes to happen as well. Because from what I understand, the rest of the world will still have the current TikTok experience. It's only the US which is going to have their censored experience, I guess. And like you say, whether they start to pull back, we start seeing less of that content move over, cross over into other countries, because those creators are no longer creating as much content. And I think Meta has also done an incredible job with Reels as well. Where at the start everyone was saying that TikTok was going to be a meta killer. I think that's definitely not the case anymore, where Instagram just continues to post really, really strong growth numbers, month on month, and the engagement and the monthly active users on across all meta platforms continues to grow. So I think this is probably a bad move in the long run for TikTok. If engagement starts to drop, TikTok Shop as a sales channel potentially is no longer becomes a viable one as well, if fewer people are spending time on there.
Yeah, absolutely. I did read one article and it was saying that TikTok uninstalls in the US have jumped 150% in the last week compared to the last previous 3 months. Yeah, it's definitely having an impact. And to your point, I think Meta's got a bit more of an opportunity now to be the leader in that space.
Yeah, which is great for Meta, but again, not great for consumer choice. I always worry when I hear about things like this, with things starting to centralize around just a single company, because at the end of the day, it just means that we have less choice, and we're kind of all forced to use that same platform. And even Meta now, they've just released Instagram Instant, which appears to just be like a Snapchat clone, essentially. Similar like stories, I guess. So I haven't actually used Instant much, but it's more about capturing those really candid sort of moments of just like things will just appear for, like, I think they can only view it once. You can't go back to the stories. You view it once and it's gone. So just like in Snapchat.
Yeah, interesting. And remember that Meta actually bought Snapchat years ago. We haven't heard much about that acquisition since.
Did they buy Snapchat?
Yep, gotten my information.
I don't think it better bought Snapchat. Surely someone would have. Surely the not the ICCC, the Federal Trade, the FTC in the US would have arced up about that, because
There
that
we
would
go.
be that'd
Okay.
be crazy.
Yes, my information wrong. It was Mark Zuckerberg wanted to buy Snapchat, couldn't. So yes, now he's got that instant function. So yeah, if you can't buy them, bury them. I don't know.
But that's been roughly the Meta business model. It's like when they create something, it's like they don't innovate very many ideas, but when they see something good, they just make a clone of it. Like when they saw TikTok take off, they really doubled down on Reels and went, okay, we need to go towards short form video.
Yep, and it's
Yeah, and
working.
there's a great story about Quibi, which you might not have heard of, which was another short form video, but for more polished content, which a lot of investors in the US poured millions and millions of dollars into. It eventually just disappeared because people didn't want polished videos. They wanted that short form, raw, authentic type content, not to be watching snippets of a movie.
Yeah, and look, it's hard to capture everybody's attention, let alone across multiple apps. So they definitely have the upper hand in keeping it all centralized.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with instant because I also hear threads usage is picking up as well. So I think people need to start looking at threads as an advertising opportunity for retail, particularly if we lose that channel of TikTok. I think people are just going to go back to Instagram and Reels if TikTok continues to be unsubscribed to.
Yeah, no, it's a good call out.
All right, and some sad news today is that after months and months and months of inflation continuing to rise, it is currently at 3.8%, not far off from the 4.4% peak which we saw only a few years ago, but it is significantly up from 2.2% at the start of the current government's term. The RBA have announced today that they will be increasing the cash rate by 25 basis points to 3.85. So not good news for retail and not good news for consumer confidence either. Yeah, do you expect this to be to be something which is going to stick around and really affect retail?
I think that, look, it's been on the cards for a while now. So I don't know if anybody's overly surprised. It's disappointing, but it's the reality. And from what I can see and just reading through some commentary across LinkedIn and some economists, they're expecting another rise in May. So we'll have to see how that plays out over the next kind of few months.
Yeah, they have definitely have not. In the announcement, they definitely did not rule out another rise, and I expect one will happen because inflation is rising very, very quickly, as we can all see every time we go out shopping. And this is the only effective way to tackle it, to really tamp down the demand. So I think retail is probably going to go through again a bit of a harder time over the next few months, particularly around things like more discretionary spend, as it always does. It will hit discretionary spend more, but I think those luxury items, people will still buy that because they perceive more value in that as well. But then also those more big ticket items like TVs, refrigerators, they never really slow down. People continue to buy them as people continue to still invest into their homes and going out less and doing more there. And I hear that hospitality is also another sector which gets hit pretty hard by this as well, with people buying fewer coffees, going out to less expensive dinners, swapping McDonald's for the fine dining experience.
Yeah, and just goes to what we were really talking about last week, just making sure that as a brand you're driving home that value to the shopper and why they should open their coins in the pocket in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also a lot of retailers now also pushing back against the immediate response in challenging times of doing a sale. And there was a TikTok which I saw the other day from an Aussie brand in Sydney, which was saying that after Black Friday, where they had massive sales numbers, they were actually highly unprofitable. And they just realized that why are we doing this to ourselves? So I think there's also that shift along with that of people no longer pushing for just breakneck growth at any cost, and really starting to think about what sort of business do I actually want to run? How can I run a business which is profitable and isn't going to drive me into the ground, and I can still lead a really good lifestyle, as well. So I think there's going to be a lot of hard decisions people are going to have to make with this rate rise.
Yeah, I think a lot of emphasis on sustainable growth, profitability. I hear it every year of we want to move away from that discounting culture. It's changing, but it's going to take a while for consumers to get used to that, particularly off the back of news like today.
Yeah, yeah. I think people need to stick to their guns, unfortunately, and there's no easy fix to it. It is a long-term thing. Like handling inflation takes a long time. It takes many quarters, many cycles to be able to get that under control. So I think we could be in for a fairly challenging year from an inflationary standpoint, which means that from a retail standpoint, it's never been more important to really emphasize the value which you bring to your customers.
Yeah. And understand your profit margins.
Absolutely. Something I've been talking about a lot, more and more, with people actually thinking more about contribution margin as well. And shout out to Carla from Profit Peak, who I had a good conversation with yesterday about this. Again, someone who's been really championing this for a number of years now.
For sure.
All right. And it is also reporting season, which means that a lot of the publicly listed brands are starting to now come out with their H1 FY20 reports. And we can see that there's actually been some surprising numbers. We've seen a number of brands actually perform pretty well, it appears.
Yes, and I think we had Country Road Group come through with increases, KMD Brands, which is obviously Rip Curl and Kathmandu, Michael Hill. I'm not sure if that includes all of Michael Hill's group or just Michael Hill, the brand themselves, but sounds like that they've had a great half one for financial year 26, which coincides with obviously Black Friday, peak retail periods. It's all great news, I think.
Yeah, and some very, very strong numbers as well. Like KMD reported their underlying EBITDA improved to between 8 to 11 million, which was up from 3.9 million the previous period. So the previous year, I should say. So that is some pretty insane growth which they've had. And obviously they've got a fairly strong stable of brands as well. I think a lot of this also comes back to the fact that they've been reducing their discounting as well. From what I understand from reading some of the reports, Micah Hill saw a 3.1% increase to $370.3 million in group sales for the half. So yeah, some pretty positive numbers. So I think with the EBITDA improvement for KMD as well, it just goes to show that when they start thinking about how they're managing inventory better, is to rely less on discounting, the impact it can have. It can double your net profit if you're smarter about that, because the top line sales didn't grow substantially year on year, but the profit did.
And I think for brands like Rip Curl and Kathmandu, they have such hero products that don't even need to be touched when it comes to discounting. So thinking about their collabs and their seasonal products, yes, trying to move them when we need to, but really holding strong on the value of those core products that aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, if you've got a great brand, then why discount it? Right. So people will come and buy you on your own merit. So you don't need to play that game, thankfully. So hopefully we start seeing more of that. So it's great to see that even though like the macro factors have been pretty all over the place in the last 12 months, and probably will continue to be, that we're still seeing some strong numbers from some of the bigger brands. So hopefully we'll report more on this as more brands start to release their financials for the last half.
Absolutely. And I think the story here for small brands as well is if bigger businesses like this can kind of run a tight ship, then if anything, you've got more of a competitive advantage to run even faster. Yeah, it should be encouraging for any type of business, whether you're a home brand or you're not.
And look, I mean, again, just like having those really, really strong business fundamentals can just help you massively. We've talked about Levi's before in the past, a couple of times now. Really big, boring businesses, which just focuses just on a few key products and just iterates and just does those over and over again. Yeah, and they're doing incredibly well.
Yeah, sure.
And our final story for the day is Harris Farm have partnered with Amazon. So this is a really interesting one because it's taken a little while, but they are the first grocery store, artisanal grocery store, I should say, to now be available via Amazon with delivery windows and rolling out currently in inner Sydney. And they're going to be fulfilled directly from a store location. So Amazon, obviously in the US, they purchased Whole Foods many, many years ago and have done a few different things with that. They also tried Amazon Go as well, where you just stop in and pick something up from their retail store. This is their first foray into fresh produce in Australia. So what do you think of this one? Because I've got some thoughts about how healthy a relationship this is going to be.
Yes, and I can see why you've got those thoughts. My first thought was really happy to see this is formed with an independent Australian business compared to, let's say, Woolworths, Coles. So great to see Harris Farm kind of get that opportunity, but it definitely doesn't come without its risks.
Yeah, I think particularly when you go on bed with Amazon as well. Like Amazon are known for if it works, they're going to do it themselves. They're famous for that. They've built their whole business on that. When they see products trending, they will start offering it themselves. So in Harris Farm's case, if they double down on this and they focus on Amazon as being their direct to consumer online retail model without building up their own lane, there's always that risk that Amazon will take that away or start competing directly with them. And also the fees as well. Like there's not much margin in grocery, in fresh produce in the first place. And when you're thinking about what Amazon could potentially be charging them for a merchant fee, let alone if they then need to start advertising on top of that, it becomes very expensive very, very quickly. And how profitable that becomes as a channel, unless you pivot your whole business model to around that. But I guess if you're looking at incremental revenue, it could work as an incremental revenue stream. But as it starts to increase, though, and that becomes a core part of your business, I think your margins get very squeezed by working with Amazon alone.
Yeah, I think from what I know of Harris Farm anyway, to me it sounds like it's only going to be one channel for them. And to your point, not to get over reliant on that, but they already had relationships with Uber Eats. They've got their own really strong store network. So if they use this as an only one channel and an acquisition channel for them to bring new eyeballs to the brand, it could be really, really successful partnership for them.
Yeah. It also strikes me again, just like Harris Farm, the perception I've always had of them is that they're a much more premium experience. They're kind of
Yeah.
like a Whole Foods, right?
Yeah.
And that's why when Amazon purchased Whole Foods, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me at the time either. And they haven't really done a whole lot with that partnership, with that acquisition, I should say. And they haven't changed too much about Whole Foods. And in this case, it's kind of the same, where it's like Amazon aren't really known for being a premium experience. You kind of go there if you have a very generic need rather than actually looking to buy something premium. So I wonder whether it's even a good brand fit for Harris Farm to be partnering with.
Yeah, I think that they've got that really strong brand perception, so hopefully they can maintain that level of premium. But if anything, it just again opens them up to a new type of customer that wasn't going to consider purchasing with them previously. That's really heavily aligned with Amazon Prime and being an Amazon shopper. And I imagine it's very different to the traditional Harris Farm shoppers.
Yeah, likely, and again, that goes back to what we were talking about before with more and more of these tech giants becoming monoliths, and you really can't get away from them. You know, Amazon now owning 50% plus of the online retail market in the US. I think it's about 30 or 40% here. They're just going to continue to grow, so you end up with no choice. But that's why I always say we need to have strong competition out there. Otherwise, it just becomes all about wealth extraction, and they just keep increasing the fees. And Amazon last week also they laid off 16,000 employees. Yeah, despite the fact that they make $210 billion every quarter.
I'm sure that came across your desk, the news of the executive accidentally sending a company-wide email about layoffs, and then the day after there were layoffs.
Yeah.
It's not a pretty story.
No. But again, it's like when you own that much of the market, there's no need to innovate. There's no need to compete. It just becomes a tax. It just becomes rent seeking behavior of what they're doing, which is why, we do need stronger competition out there. So, but I don't know who can take them on. I realistically don't know at this point who can take on Amazon in this space because they own everything. They own the distribution. There was a report in the US that some of the courier services were having to lay people off because Amazon have now built up such a strong network of their own that they're not delivering through the regular channels anymore. They're just using their own network. So, which means that as we become more reliant on them, Amazon now own every stage of the every part of the value chain.
Yeah. Let me ask you, are you a Amazon Prime subscriber?
I am. I have been since the very beginning. So I do sound very hypocritical here right now. Look, and Amazon is a really great service. Prime is also there's some really great shows on Prime Video. I have to say, so I do use it very often. And my NBA app, I can watch all my NBA games on the Prime Video app as well. So it's very convenient. And for a lot of things, if it's just something which is just generic, I will get it on Amazon. If it's simpler to do that, then go directly to a brand. If it's something very like a chopping board, if I just want like a simple plastic chopping board, I just get it from Amazon because I know it will come the next day. But if it's something else, like if I need to buy shoes or anything like that or clothes, I probably won't buy that on Amazon. What
Yeah.
about you?
I'm not, but I think look, that just highlights like it's a complicated relationship for everybody. And yeah, you use it for some pieces, not for all. And let's see if people start using it for fast delivering groceries.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's convenience, which is what you're buying from Amazon. That's why you use Amazon because you don't need to go to the shop. You don't need to go pick something up. Look, and I had an experience on the weekend where I had to go to a shop, and it was just like it was painful. I was in a mall, and it was very very painful because it was absolutely crowded. Everything was dirty. Just trying to get a meal with my with my family. It was incredibly hard to do. A lot to consider when you set foot outside the house.
Yes, yeah, and that's the privilege that online shopping has given us, particularly with deliveries coming on the weekends now. Yeah, I know that's happening for Sydney and major cities for a long time, but I got 2 deliveries in Adelaide over the weekend, and I was like, "This is new, very convenient." We're in an attention economy, so kind of to the point before with Meta being on one platform, having one provider to do everything for you. To your point, it's going to be hard to compete.
Yeah, and people are willing to pay that because they're getting convenience out of it. Because all their friends are there. Things have value because all your friends are on Instagram, all your friends are on Facebook. So why branch out into another platform?
Yeah,
Because they've
exactly.
got all our attention.
Now, we said this was going to be a short episode, and it's
25 minutes, around average length. So
yeah.
that is all we have time for this week. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week with more of the top headlines affecting Australian e-commerce brands around the world.
Awesome.
In the meantime, keep innovating, keep growing, keep selling, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
you.